Hey guys, what is up? It's Codeland Retreat with another video. Today I'm going to be adding a new segment to Matplotlib. I have actually imported a package, but I'll get on to why I've done that later. It's not to reduce any of my code. So, this is the fourth part of the series in which I'm making a mathematics library that can be imported using Python, and it's very helpful having very common mathematical functions inside it. Till now we have done set theory, improved set theory, done LCM, which is a secret feature I have popped in. Then there is linear equations, quadratic and cubic. This, by the way, is a bit like this code only works sometimes because this formula doesn't apply always, so it only works for certain cubic equations. Then we have sequences, and then we come on to today's topic, which is trends. So as always, before we get into the video, could you just scroll down and click the like button, maybe even the subscribe button if you really like my content. But anyway, let's get into it. So as usual, we'll start by testing the feature that I've made. So let me define a particular thing called a data set. Now what I intended this feature to be is that you would pass in x and y coordinates, and what would basically happen is it would find a trend such as x is equal to 3y or x is equal to y plus 2, things like that. X is the second one, y is the first one in my thing, which is a bit this thing. So yeah, if I have terms like 1 comma 2 as one coordinate, 2 comma 3 as the second, 3 comma 4 as the this thing, okay. Yeah, so as I was saying, we could pass a data set like this, and the rule over here is obvious. Y, which is this second coordinate, is equal to x plus 1. It's obvious. But let's say it were not to be obvious and you needed a program to do it for you. So for that, you can say trend, which is a variable, is equal to find trend, and then you pass in this data set. This data set is made up of structures which are already integrated into Python, which are lists. So I have not used any custom functions in this. Okay, so we've got trend. Now if I were to print the trend is, then if I type trend, let me run the program. It will take a bit to calculate. Y is equal to x plus 1. Now let's try another example. Data set 2 is equal to, this time let's make the trend a bit more complicated. Okay, so let's say the second number is 3.5 times the first number. Now 1 times 3.5, 2 will be 7, 3 will be, rather let's take a easy number, 4 will be 14, 6 will be 21, 8 will be 27, rather sorry 28, and so on. I'll just keep it at this. Now let's print f. The trend is okay, like this. Y is equal to 3.5 times x as seen over here. But let's say I know the trend, but I want to find a data set and possibly even plot it in a graph. For this, I'm going to be saying, let's say trend to plot is equal to, let's say x is equal to 5.63 y. Sorry, yeah, it's the other way around. Y is equal to 5.363 x. Then if I say graph trend, then I put trend to plot inside. This should start a simulation, which I don't think is visible on this screen. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, so over here this is visible. Sorry for the extremely enlarged mouse pointer, it was glitching out. So over here you can see that for 1 it is 5.63, and as we keep going we can see this line over here. Then when we close this, we can actually, if we do the same thing but we do print and we enter it like this and run it again, we'll have this, and after that we will actually get a data set back, which is pretty handy in case you want the graph to be displayed but at the same time you want the trend as well, the data set from the trend. Now just to show that this works again, I am going to pass this function find trend of graph trend of trend to plot. Now like this is completely counterintuitive, but it is going to be there. Let me just so this will print the trend, the one that it is based upon, which is y is equal to 5.x3, which is what we have done over here. So there is no tampering in the middle of this function, nothing gets changed at all. Okay, so now that we have shown, now that I've demonstrated how this works, let's move on to how I've coded it. Now this was actually a bit hard to think of how to code, but in any coordinate system, which is in any 2 points in a Cartesian coordinate system, if it follows a trend, there is either going to be two things. The y is either equal to the x coordinate plus a particular value, or the y is equal to the x coordinate multiplied by a particular value. So D and R, D is common difference, R is common ratio, like how I done up in this sequences series. If you've not checked it out, that's episode 2. I'll leave a playlist link in the description. This video will also be a part of that playlist. Okay, so for every element in data set, remember the data set is a list of lists. So each of these elements are lists of 2 elements each. Okay, so we find the difference and the common ratio, because there's no way of finding out without using artificial intelligence and regression whether it follows the R or D without finding both. Now I have R relation and D relation, which are just Boolean switches, and I set them both to true. This one need not be there, it was some of my old code, but yeah. For one difference in the difference list, we find its index. If it is the first element, we don't do anything. Otherwise, we check if the difference is not equal to the difference that was previous of the difference in of the if its index. So D list I minus 1, that's what it is. If it is not equal to, it means that there is no one common difference. So the D relation is ruled out, and break just snaps it out of the loop. Otherwise, it keeps D relation at true. The same code is done for R, just to check. Then it's checked. If R relation is true, then you use an F string and pass in the value for X. If D relation is true, you need to do a bit more checking because negative values can be possible for the difference, which is why minus. Then if D relation is 0, then equal to, and otherwise the trend will be plus. If none of this succeeds, then the trend says this dataset follows no rule. Then I return it. Now for the graph trend, I have used an external package but not for calculating the trend. It is Matplotlib. You probably would have heard of it if you are watching. Matplotlib is basically a Python library which is everything got to do with graphs and that side of mathematics. The thing that I've used it for is just plotting the points on a graph and showing the graph, because that is incredibly hard to do without an external package. Okay, so the correlation over here is the trend, and you split it at this equal to mark. So you get x plus whatever this is, the first part. Okay, then you see if this has a plus, note from the editor. Over here you can see that I have put split str inside the quotes. If you use this version of the code, it will not work because split str is a variable and this is a string. So in the paste bin link, don't be too surprised if I have removed those quotes. That's why it is there. Okay, so this basically just checks whether it has a plus or minus in this, and then afterwards it finds the value that is being added or subtracted from x. These are two empty arrays of points of x and points of y. Then it basically generates 10 values for x and y, where x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and y is that this I value over here plus the constant value, which is for our case was 5.63. Now PLT plot, y label, x label and show are from Matplotlib. They are functions used to make the graph appear, this PLT show. And a data set, this rest part of the code just merges the x points and y points into a list of lists, and once that is done we just return data set. However, if there is a full stop in the correlation, then we know that it is multiplied by a float. Now what we do is we take a float of this and repeat the same process, except we multiply constant, and that's about it. So guys, that was the feature that I have added in today's video. It was a bit short than the normal videos, but that's okay. It took me a long time to figure out how to code this. So if you do enjoy my videos and you want to get notified whenever I upload the next part of this series, please be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications. You'll get to know when I'll upload. Also, side note, sorry for missing the upload yesterday. That's because yesterday I was busy studying, and that's why I'm doing it today. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.